In this video, the ultimate guide to buying property in Mexico as a foreigner. We're going to break it down step by step, the process, the legal requirements, practical steps, and key considerations for Canadians and Americans purchasing property in Mexico. So let's get right into it. Step 1 is determine eligibility and understand restrictions. So some foreign ownership basics here is that Canadians and Americans can legally buy and own property in Mexico, even if you're not a resident of Mexico, but there are restrictions in the restricted zone, the area within 50 kilometers of the coast or 100 kilometers of an international border. This includes popular spots like Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Cabo San Lucas, anywhere on the beach. So your options in the restricted zone is one of two things. One is you can do a fideicomiso, which is a bank trust, where you can purchase property through this bank trust, set it up with a Mexican bank. The bank holds the title, but you have full rights to use, sell, rent, or bequeath the property. The trust lasts 50 years and is renewable. The second option is a Mexican corporation. So alternatively, instead of the bank trust, if you want, you can form a Mexican corporation to buy the property directly, even in the restricted zone. This requires at least 2 partners and is often used for commercial properties or investments. And then outside the restricted zone, there things are much easier. Foreigners can own property outright just like Mexican citizens, with no need for a bank trust or corporation. So this would include places like Mexico City, Guadalajara, Guanajuato, anywhere in the middle of the country. You don't need a bank trust, which is pretty nice. Okay, so step 2 is find a property and research the market. Choose a location. Where do you want to be? You want to be on the Caribbean? You want to be on the Pacific? Different areas of the country are very different. Mexico is a very big country. Prices are going to be different, price per square meter. Rental markets are going to be very different. Some markets are more seasonal than others. So location is very important in Mexico. And be sure to work with professionals. Hire a reputable real estate agent experienced with foreign buyers. Since real estate agents in Mexico aren't required to be licensed, you want to get multiple referrals from trusted sources. A lawyer familiar with Mexican property law is also essential to navigate legal requirements. And by the way, MyLatinLife, we can introduce you to real estate agents, lawyers, everything you need in Mexico. So to become our client, there's a link in the description where you can book an intro call with us, and we can get you residency. We can open a Mexican corporation for you. We can help you with real estate transactions. Whatever you need, just book a call to get the process started. Link in the description to this video. Okay, moving on to step 3, make an offer and sign a preliminary agreement. So negotiate the price. Once you find a property, make an offer through your agent. Prices might be inflated for foreigners, so research the local market to ensure you're paying a fair price. And if you can, try to not disclose that it's a foreigner buying, because if they think it's a Mexican that's buying the property through your agent, that's going to lead to a better price, most likely. And then you will sign a promissory purchase and sale agreement. This contract, written in Spanish, outlines the terms of the sale. It typically requires a deposit of 5 to 10%. I believe this is called the enganche. Ensure the contract is reviewed by your lawyer, by the notary. And then the next step would be to set up the fideicomiso if in the restricted zone. So this is something that you apply for. Your lawyer or notary will help you set up the fideicomiso with a Mexican bank. You'll need a permit from the Mexican Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the SRE, which can also take a few weeks to process. So just keep in mind that the fideicomiso is not automatic. It can take a couple weeks to get fully set up. And it has some costs, about $500 to $1,000 setup fee, and then annual maintenance costs as well. That's in the $500 to $800 range. The trust gives you full control over the property though, including the right to sell or pass it to heirs, but the downside is it does have that annual maintenance cost. There are pros and cons, but just so you know, there is a cost associated with maintaining a fideicomiso. Alternatively, again, we mentioned there's the Mexican corporation, which you can opt for. This can sometimes even be quicker than the bank trust, but both are relatively fast. The other thing about the Mexican corporation is it'll require ongoing accounting. You'll have to make monthly declarations, and there'll be fees associated with that, potentially taxes if you're renting your property out. So these are things to be aware of as well. The next step in the process is conducting due diligence. So you would do a title search, verify the property is titled to ensure it's free of liens, debts, or disputes. You would check for ejido land, which is communal land that can't be directly owned by foreigners. It's a complex process. It's something we've talked about in another video on the channel. So subscribe to our channel and check out the ejido video if you're curious about that. There will be a public registry check to confirm the property is registered and has no outstanding municipal debts like property taxes or predial. Again, we have another video about predial on this channel. Then you'll get the SRE permit, the clausula calvo. As a foreigner, you must agree not to seek intervention from your home country in property disputes, ensuring Mexican law governs the transaction. Then, step 6, you will finalize the purchase with the notary. The notario público plays a very important role. A Mexican notary public, a notario, is a government-appointed official who authenticates the transaction, calculates taxes like capital gains tax, things like that, and registers the property. This step is mandatory for the sale to be legally valid. If you're coming from Canada or the US, where the notary doesn't really play a particularly important role, it's different in Mexico. It holds a lot more weight in Mexico. They charge more money than notaries in Mexico, and it's more crucial to the transaction down here in Latin America. Next, you'll sign the escritura, which is the deed, at the notary's office. You'll get the official deed, you'll pay the remaining balance, closing costs and taxes. Closing costs are typically 5 to 7% of the purchase price, including notary fees, registration fees, fideicomiso setup costs, land transfer fees, etc. Step 7 is to register the property and take ownership. After signing, the notary submits the escritura to the public registry of property. The registration can take a couple months, but the property is legally yours upon signing. You can take possession once the final payment is made, you receive the keys, and can take possession of the property. Congratulations, you now own property in Mexico. Some additional considerations would be financing options. A lot of people are curious about loans. While many foreigners pay cash, some Mexican banks and international banks offer mortgages to foreigners, often requiring proof of income and residency status. Interest rates are higher than in the US or Canada, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Then there'll be ongoing costs associated with the property. You have property taxes, which are relatively low in Mexico. You might have fideicomiso fees. You might have other maintenance fees, especially for oceanfront property that requires more upkeep. You'll want to avoid any scams, particularly anything involving ejido land I would stay away from, and make sure you use a good notary. To buy property in Mexico as a Canadian or American, start by researching locations and hire a reputable real estate agent and lawyer. Use a fideicomiso for residential purchases in the restricted zone, or consider a corporation for commercial investments. Be thorough with due diligence, especially regarding ejido land and title clarity. For the smoothest process, work with professionals experienced in foreign transactions, and always have contracts reviewed by a lawyer. If you're unsure about a specific property or region, consult with us. There's a link in the description. You'll be speaking with Vance from MyLatinLife directly, and we can get you residency in Mexico. We can get you a fideicomiso or a corporation in Mexico. We can find accountants to do your taxes for you. Anything that you need in Mexico, we can get it done. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.